Before this moment, we used on long distance targets, we used only our weapon, as you know. And after my meeting with President of the United States, yes, we will maybe have something more. I don't know. We'll see.
That something more is coming, and it's keeping Putin awake at nights. You see, as I'm recording this, Ukrainian drones are heading towards Moscow as President Trump drops a bombshell announcement on Russia. You see, even now, Putin is not able to protect Russian citizens from Ukrainian drones. Now imagine if Ukraine had something much more powerful. Well, things would turn really ugly for Russia, and that's exactly what Putin is worried about. That's why Putin tried sending many warnings. It will be nuclear war if US helps Ukraine. That's what Putin was saying just 2 days ago. But it seems that President Trump's not really worried about Russian bluffs. Now we'll get into President Trump's new announcement in just a second, but first let's look at what was Putin's warning.
You just spoke about the United States. You were just talking about the U.S. president. There were issues related to discussing problems with supplies of new weapon systems, including long-range, high-precision ones, Tomahawks, and so on. I already said this will lead to the destruction of our relations, at least those with positive tendencies in these relationships, at least the positive trends that were emerging.
This was the same trick that Putin tried when we were trying to send HIMARS, when we were trying to send ATACMS, when we were trying to send F-16s, Patriots. I'm sure I missed a lot of points on that list. That's because it's a very long list. Every time US tries to send more aid to Ukraine, Putin warns how it could lead to World War III. And every single time, his bluff is proven just that. It's just a bluff to make sure Ukraine doesn't have the help it needs. All the while, Putin is getting satellite data from China. Putin is getting missiles from North Korea and Iran. And of course, Putin is getting soldiers from Kim Jong-un. Now, just to be fair to Putin, I can understand why he's so worried about Tomahawk. You see, Tomahawk missiles have a range that make it possible for Ukraine to start hitting Moscow with a missile. That's something I would be worried too if I was living in Kremlin. After all, Putin started this war 3 years ago, hoping that he would be in Kyiv in 3 days. And now Ukraine is about to have the ability to hit Kremlin. Let me show you what President Trump just said a few hours ago.
Decision on whether to supply Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine or sell them to NATO and let them sell them to Ukraine.
Yeah, I've sort of made a decision, pretty much. If you consider, yeah, I think I want to find out what they're doing with them.
Yes.
You know, where are they sending them? I guess I'd have to ask that question. That war should never have started.
They have a range of like 1,500 miles or something, and so they'd be able to.
No, I know. No, I would ask some questions. I want to see what's. I'm not looking to see escalation.
Yes.
Definitely a good statement. It seems like US has either approved Tomahawk missiles or is very close to doing so. Now, as much as I would like to see Ukraine use them on Kremlin compound, I don't think that's gonna happen. Because President Trump said very clearly that he wants to know exactly where Ukraine is using them, and then US will approve or disapprove depending on how much of a risk US administration thinks that strike will cause. And this is something else he said that's very important. Let's listen in.
No, I know. No, I would ask some questions. I want to see what's. I'm not looking to see escalation.
Now, some people may not be happy about this strategy where US approves every single strike that Ukraine carries out, but this has been US strategy ever since this war started. That's how Ukraine uses ATACMS, that's how Ukraine uses Storm Shadows, and that's how Ukraine uses any other weapons that they get from Western countries. They need approval before they start hitting whatever they want. This is where Ukrainian missiles are actually game-changing, missiles like Flamingo and Neptune. These missiles give Ukraine the ability to head anywhere they want without seeking any type of approval. And they're creating quite a bit of headache for Putin because now every time he hits a Ukrainian city, Ukraine comes right back and makes sure that the Russian city is in complete darkness. And this is something President Zelensky has been very clear about. It's eye for an eye from now on with Russia.
Russians don't even understand the price of all these blackouts, of dark nights, of all these challenges, the price that the citizens of Ukraine feel and endure during this war. And here, the question isn't even about their morality, which they lack, but about a physical feeling. Ukraine does not kill civilians, does not hunt civilians at all, but they must understand the price of this. Ukraine responds and strikes military targets, and that's fair, I believe. At energy facilities that sell their energy resources, Russia sells its energy resources and then uses this money exclusively for war. That's why I believe that Ukraine is taking completely fair steps. We would be glad not to do this. We would be happy if there was no war. But the Russians don't want that yet. And that's why this war can be stopped not only by pressure, multifaceted. The pressure from Western countries is currently not enough. And unity in this pressure, I believe, is also lacking, not enough. More pressure from the United States, Europe, and the global South is something we have not even felt yet. Their pressure on Russia to make them stop. And the second vector is precisely the society of the Russian Federation itself. They are killing comfortable. And when they don't feel comfortable, they will start to think about it.
Їм не може бути комфортно. І коли їм не буде комфортно, вони почнуть ставити запитання до свого керівництва.
Now, Ukraine is very clear that they don't want to do this. They don't want to make Russian citizens suffer. But if Russia continues to attack Ukrainian energy infrastructure, especially as winter is approaching, then Russia can expect Ukraine to do the same. That way, Russian citizens feel the same hardship of the war that the Ukrainian citizens have been feeling for the last 3.5 years. And let me tell you one thing, just looking at the clips that are coming out of Russia, it doesn't seem like Russian citizens are enjoying the taste of their own medicine. Here's a clip of a Russian citizen who lost all power because of a Ukrainian strike on a Russian thermal power plant.
Вот так у нас сейчас. Темень.
That's how it is here. The ashes. Darkness.
Одни машины светятся.
Look, people have candles lit over there. Only some cars are lighting up. It gets dark. The whole neighborhood is like that. And in the apartments, too.
И в квартирах также.
Now, this is where I want to point out a lie that Putin and Russian media have been telling Russian citizens. They are telling Russians that Tomahawks are not really going to change the battlefield. But in reality, Putin knows that Ukraine's never going to use the Tomahawk on the battlefield, but rather they will use it to go after important infrastructure like thermal plants, ammunition depot, and fuel depot. In fact, that's exactly what Russia does. Russia is not using missiles to go after troops on the ground. They're using it to attack behind the lines. In fact, Russians have been using missiles to attack Ukrainian civilian infrastructure. That includes malls, apartments, even a church. So much for Putin trying to save Christianity, all the while going after a church and a pastor's family in Ukraine. But anyways, I do want to show you guys this clip of Putin telling the Russian audience that Tomahawks will have no effect on the front lines. And he finishes the clip off just praising Russian air defense systems, which is kinda laughable considering how badly Russia is suffering. But let's look at the clip and then see how Putin got exposed in real time.
It's dangerous. As for the Tomahawks, it's a powerful arm. Perhaps not the most modernized, but it's powerful. Poses serious threat. This will not change in any way the balance of powers on the battlefield and the fundamental issues of the armed forces of Ukraine. no matter how many UAVs they get, and no matter how many lines they create with those UAVs. Without the personnel, there will be no one to lead those battles.
Систем высокой точности это томагавки и так далее. Ну, я уже сказал, что это...
They have to change the tactics. Just look at what they're showing on the TV screens about how our troops are moving. 2 or 3 people, but they're moving. Rep is working. So they continue step by step to move forward. But the Russian air defense systems have adjusted, have started striking them down.
К разрушению наших отношений, во всяком случае наметившихся позитивных тенденций в этих отношениях.
Can Tomahawks inflict damage? Yes, but we will continue to strike. Them done, we'll continue to perfect our systems. Will this pose damage to our relations, where we see light at the end of the death course? Using Tomahawk without direct involvement of U.S. officers is impossible.
Систем высокой...
Well, guess what? Just today, when the Ukrainian drones were flying into Russia, Russian air defense system truly proved how valuable they are. Here's a clip of a Russian air defense missile hitting a Russian apartment. They just destroyed a building accidentally. No wonder Russian refineries and Russian fuel depots are always on fire. The air defense systems are purely archaic. They are literally from Soviet times where they cannot differentiate between an apartment building and a drone. If Putin continues using these air defenses, Russian streets will soon look like how streets in Belgorod look.
Hello guys, I just don't know if the light on Kinevo has been repaired since yesterday. Now there was a shelling in Kineva and it is again without lighting. There it is, the capital, DPS controls. On that intersection in Kineva and Boulevard Youth, traffic lights do not work. This is Budunovo. On the right there are 10th, 12th, 14th. Darkness. Left Budunov, the darkness of Budyunovo Yasinino. On the intersection of Metapor does not work.